Sequels suck? I don't think so. You're watching Beyond the Trailers review of 22 Jump Street.
You two sons of bitches are going to college. Oh, so tight.
We'll go around to classes and activities, ask around about the drug, find out who the dealer is.
You don't have to do this, man. I just don't want you getting hurt.
I'm not gonna get hurt. Oh, it broke my ass.
White boy wasted.
It's inking in my mouth!
You know who can suck it? Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Phil Lord and Chris Miller opted out of returning to direct that sequel, and they even have opted out of returning to direct the Lego Movie 2. But 22 Jump Street, they opted in, baby. And considering that live action is still where the money is for talent, it's a smart choice. Because as good as Lord and Miller are in animation, clearly they want to make the jump to live action to compete in the big leagues with Judd Apatow, Seth Rogen, and maybe even Todd Phillips if he ever makes another movie. And hey, with Seth MacFarlane eating it on A Million Ways to Die in the West, suddenly it seems Lord and Miller might have a straight shot at scoring again with the franchise they helped start back in 2012, their first and only other live-action movie. Nobody believed that a comedic film adaptation of the cult hit late 1980s TV drama would succeed, but then that was a magic year for Channing Tatum. The Vow, 21 Jump Street, Magic Mike, Tatum could do no wrong in any genre. But while 2012 was magical, 2013 fizzled, with Side Effects, G.I. Joe Retaliation, and White House Down. And Jupiter Ascending was just pushed back to February 2015. So Tatum needs 22 Jump Street to succeed if he wants to keep doing live action. Now, interestingly, Jonah Hill, who has been on this movie franchise since its inception and helped pick both Tatum and Lord and Miller, is doing just fine. He's coming off of his second Oscar nomination for The Wolf of Wall Street, and This Is the End was a very strong box office performer. In fact, Hill is doing so well, the only thing that can hurt him is himself, with him recently getting in trouble for hurling a homophobic slur at the paparazzi. These days paparazzi record video? Anyway, Hill quickly did damage control with an apology on The Tonight Show, but still, these things can have a surprisingly big effect. Although, with the 22 Jump Street audience, most of the original cast also returns, along with some interesting new additions. Jillian Bell is the latest workaholic to make the leap to the big screen, while Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn's son Wyatt hopes that this sequel can do for him what the original did for another famous family member, Dave Franco. And Wyatt Russell wants into the Hollywood comedy circuit so badly that he apparently turned down a role in The Hunger Games for this movie. Say what? Well, to be fair, The Hunger Games doesn't guarantee other gigs, while these days Tinseltown's comedic frat house is pretty tight. So, can 22 Jump Street make as big an impression as that other spring break movie?
Lower your expectations, because I went into this movie with very high expectations, and as a result, I spent a good deal of it ready to laugh, but not given a lot to laugh at. For instance, there is a surprising amount of meta-humor in this film about sequels and movie budgets, and while it's all quite clever, it's not laugh-out-loud funny. There are funny moments, though, my favorites being the fight between Jonah Hill and Jillian Bell and that phenomenal end credits sequence. I'm sure you've heard of it by now, and it is as good as everyone is saying. And we've talked about ending movies on a high note before, and this movie does that beautifully. And I think a lot of the good word of mouth about this film and the goodwill toward it is coming off of that end credit sequence. And speaking of that end credit sequence, there is this one shot, I don't want to give it away, but of Channing Tatum surrounded by like this purple pink energy, and I was like, Gambit! I'm still very excited about that casting. But I'm not so enthusiastic about Tatum's work in this film. And that's because while he is funny, and I know his character is supposed to be a dumb jock and a little slow, but for a good deal of the film, it seemed to me that Tatum just woke up from a nap. Or a night of heavy drinking. He just seemed really out of it and detached. Like almost as if he was out of his league and he was just, following Jonah Hill around and trying to keep up as best he could. He just didn't seem as, connected to the material as he did in the first film. So it's not a repeat of his first performance, so that's why I guess I was confused. I was like, you were a little more on the ball the first time around, Channing Tatum. I'm not quite sure what's happening. And as you might recall, I've often accused Harrison Ford of seeming like he just woke up from a nap, but he is a good deal older than Channing Tatum. So what's Tatum's excuse? Although I don't think Harrison Ford has a good excuse either. If you are alive and alert and a professional and you have all your faculties about you, you should be able to seem a little bit more on the ball when you're working. As for Jonah Hill, he was very good. I mean, this isn't something like Moneyball or Wolf of Wall Street, you know, where he's kind of taking his work to the next level. This is classic Jonah Hill. It's why he's successful in the first place, why audiences love him. And I thought he was very good here. He was a little bit more of the straight man, I guess. Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure who the straight man is in this. You know, usually there's a straight man and a funny guy. I think they both take turns between Hill and Tatum, but I guess what I'm thinking is Jonah Hill was a little more funnier, to me at least, in This Is the End. But he was very good here. One thing that kind of took me out of the movie, though, is, as I mentioned in the opening, he recently got in trouble for using a homophobic slur. And quite a big deal is made about homophobic slurs in this movie. There's 2 sequences where they really drive home the point that it's wrong. And so the fact that Jonah Hill would do it in real life so soon after making the film either makes me think that it was just all a publicity stunt for this film, which seems in poor taste and poorly calculated, or maybe he doesn't really believe the sentiment behind what was said in the movie and it was just in there to try and be funny, which is in a little bit of poor taste because obviously that language is hurtful and, you know, is a problem, you know, in society. So it was just weird to me to see it referenced in the movie, and when it must have been accidental because I don't think they would reshoot those scenes so quickly because the stuff with Hill like just happened. So the movie is good. Again, lower your expectations. There is funny stuff. You know, it's a good matinee, I think. I mean, it's that kind of like a pleasant experience to go and watch. And it really is all just about the chemistry between Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill, which is undeniable. They're funny to watch do anything, as those end credits attest. You know, Ice Cube has some good moments, and so does Jillian Bell. They're the other real standouts, but they're just moments. They don't have a lot to do. It's not like they're not doing as much as they can with their material. They just don't have a lot of material. And as for Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill being able to really just get away with anything, I think that to just rely on that is sloppy filmmaking. And this film is a little guilty of that. But I think the real danger is towards 23 Jump Street, where I can see the film getting even more reliant on just following Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum around and watching their hijinks. And I think they just barely got away with it here, and I don't know if the film could survive, you know, the franchise could survive another entry where more of an effort isn't made. So that's my review of 22 Jump Street. Again, it might be just because I went in with such high expectations, but I'm curious to how you guys felt about the film. Did you have any of the same similar problems that I did? Or what did you think I didn't get? Or, you know, did you think it was a perfect movie and it deserves all the success it's getting? I wouldn't say it doesn't deserve its success. I just feel, as I said, a little sloppy, a little bit sloppy in the filmmaking all around, from the acting to the directing to the writing. But Phil Lord and Chris Miller, they really know what they're doing. The music in particular, the music choices were phenomenal here, and I'm very excited to see what they do next. All right, thank you so much for tuning into my review, and you can check out some more episodes right now.